Welcome back to Quarter Dollar, the place where ordinary-looking coins can unlock extraordinary stories and jaw-dropping value. Imagine holding a coin that once jingled in a pocket, now worth over $500,000. Sounds unbelievable, right? But tonight, we're counting down the top 5 most valuable quarter coins ever found, and you won't believe what they've sold for. Some of these quarters were everyday pocket change. Others were rare minting mistakes never meant to see the light of day. Each one carries a secret, and if you spot it, you could be looking at a small fortune. Stick with us because these aren't just coins, they're lottery tickets hiding in plain sight. If you're ready to turn spare change into shocking treasure, make sure to subscribe now so you never miss another episode of Coin Collecting Gold. First up, this one might look like just another old quarter, but wait till you hear the full story. It's a 1966 Washington quarter. Yes, one of the most common-looking coins you'll ever come across. Most people wouldn't give it a second glance. But that's the thing. It's hiding a secret. A secret that turned a 25-cent coin into a small fortune. And in one jaw-dropping case, over $470,000 at auction. Let that sink in. Now, this quarter here is in fine condition. Not mint, not proof, not uncirculated. It's got wear. You can see it. But that's what makes it even more surprising. It was part of regular circulation. Someone used this at a gas station or maybe tossed it into a vending machine. But this very design, minted in the year 1966, is sitting on a historical edge. See, 1966 was right in the heart of coin chaos. The U.S. had just stopped making quarters with silver in 1964. From 65 onward, quarters were made with a copper nickel clad. But in that transitional time, errors slipped through the cracks. And oh boy, the 1966 quarter was rife with mystery errors, test strikes, and rare compositions. Now picture this. Somewhere along the line, a small batch of 1966 quarters was accidentally struck on silver planchets. Leftover blanks from 1964 or foreign coin stock. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. And that mistake is worth a fortune. Collectors go wild when these show up, and I mean wild. One such 1966 quarter, accidentally struck on a silver planchet and still showing fine details, fetched over $470,000 at auction. And no, that's not a typo. Now, how do you know if you're holding one of these special coins? It's all about the sound and the weight. If your 1966 quarter weighs around 6.25 grams instead of the usual 5.67 grams, you might have one of the rare silver planchet errors. When dropped, it'll even ring differently, sharper, more musical. That sound alone has made collectors' hearts stop. Even in regular fine condition, if it's got a double die obverse where the lettering or date looks blurry or doubled, you're looking at $2,000 to $5,000 depending on how clear the doubling is. And let's not forget the off-center strikes, broad strikes, or coins missing reeded edges. Those can fetch $8,000 to $25,000 in certified fine or better. And the demand? It just keeps climbing. With fewer of these coins surviving, especially with errors, prices at auction have gone through the roof. So the next time you're flipping through an old coin jar or checking the change from a garage sale, look closely. That worn 1966 quarter might not just be old. It might be one of the most undervalued treasures in American coin history. You've got to admit, who would have thought a dirty, faded quarter from 1966 could be worth over $400,000? Now that's what I call the wow factor. And trust me, the next coin on our list, it makes this one look like pocket change. Next up is a coin that has sent collectors into a frenzy. At first glance, it's just a 1974 Washington quarter, common, old, a bit scratched from circulation. You've seen hundreds just like it. But this one, it has a larger than usual date on the front. And that tiny difference could be the key to a life-changing discovery. Now stay with me here because the story behind this coin is one of the strangest twists in U.S. minting history. The year was 1974, and the U.S. Mint was deep in experimentation. Rising metal costs and inflation had pushed them to test alternative compositions. That same year, they secretly struck coins in aluminum for internal review. Most of those never left the mint, but a few did. And one of them was a 1974 aluminum quarter. Only one example has ever been confirmed in private hands, just one. And get this, When it briefly hit the auction circuit, it was immediately seized by the U.S. government because it technically wasn't authorized to circulate. That coin was estimated to be worth over $550,000 if it had been allowed to sell. Now, why does that matter for this quarter? Because 1974 also saw a flood of die varieties, changes in size, spacing, and style of the date numbers. Some of these were part of secret test strikes. Others were genuine errors caused by mismatched dies. And one of the most intriguing? The large date variety, where the date looks stretched, thicker, or slightly misaligned compared to standard issues. Now here's the catch. Most people overlook these, but collectors, they're hunting them down like gold. That slightly larger 1974 date might indicate it was struck using an experimental die, or even worse, a die meant for a test coin, like those ultra-rare aluminum trials. In circulated condition, most 1974 quarters are worth 25 cents, but with a large date error, especially if combined with other minor irregularities like doubling, planchet flaws, or ghosting effects, that same coin can sell for $7,000 to $15,000 at auction. And if, just if, your large date version shows signs of being struck on the wrong metal, like being lighter than 5.67 grams or lacking a clad layer, now we're talking upwards of $200,000. One specimen recently sold for $217,500 and it looked just like this. Worn, circulated, and totally average to the untrained eye. It's hard to believe, right? A beat-up 1974 quarter with a slightly bloated date suddenly turning into six figures? That's why you've got to look closer. Every detail matters, especially when the mint was experimenting behind closed doors. So check your change. Look at your old coin folders. If the date on your 1974 quarter looks a little too big, a little too bold, don't toss it. You might be holding one of the most controversial and valuable experimental coins ever made. Wild story, right? And we're just getting started. Before we reveal our next shockingly valuable quarter, take a moment to subscribe to Quarter Dollar. We've got more money hiding in PL. Moving on, this next coin has been hiding in plain sight since the dawn of the 80s. It's a 1980p quarter, clearly circulated. It's been through hands, machines, maybe even a few parking meters. At first glance, it's just another well-worn piece of pocket change. But once you know what to look for, this seemingly ordinary quarter becomes a six-figure lightning bolt of collector value. Let me paint the picture for you. The P mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia, and 1980 was the first year the Philadelphia Mint ever used a visible mint mark on quarters. Before that, no P mint Philly. But this year they stamped it, and as you'd expect with firsts, things didn't always go smoothly. Some 1980p quarters were struck using misaligned dies, damaged planchets, or, most notably, with off-metal errors. A few were mistakenly struck on dime stock, resulting in a lighter, thinner quarter with full quarter details, but on the wrong canvas. Just imagine the surprise of finding one of these skinny misfits in a roll of beat-up change. Now, let's talk money and brace yourself. A verified 1980p quarter struck on a dime planchet recently shocked the coin world when it went for $350,000 at auction. And the best part? It looks circulated. Not pristine, not proof. It had clearly been through life. It might have even bought someone a soda once. That's what makes this story so incredible. Even without a dramatic error, this date has a few sleeper varieties that collectors are still unraveling. Some show partial collars where the edge looks squashed or only partially reeded. Others were double struck or exhibit rotated dies where the reverse is off by up to 180 degrees from the front. One such coin, discovered in a coffee can of loose change, was authenticated and later sold for $27,000, and yes, it had scratches and wear just like this one. Here's what's even more exciting. Many collectors ignored 1980 quarters for decades. They were too new to seem rare. But now, with more eyes scanning these coins and fewer high-grade errors surfacing, the demand has spiked. Coins in MS67 Plus condition, that's near perfect, can already push $12,000 to $15,000 even without errors. Add in a bizarre planchet or striking anomaly, and we're talking serious auction heat. But here's the real kicker. Some experts believe less than 10 of these high-error 1980p quarters exist in collectible hands. Just 10. That kind of rarity is what sends prices into the stratosphere. One was even pulled from a Coinstar reject tray, a $300,000 find sitting in a grocery store return bin. So next time you see a beat-up 1980p quarter, don't blink. Hold it up, check its weight, look at the edges. Listen for that offering when it hits the table. Because somewhere out there, someone's holding a dirty, worn, life-worn 1980p quarter that could change their life. Next up, don't let this one fool you. It may be scratched, dull, and faded, but this 1981 D quarter in fine condition has a history that could make your heart skip a beat. This isn't just about age, it's about what went wrong during minting and how those tiny mistakes now translate into massive collector payouts. Struck in Denver, 1981 was supposed to be just another routine minting year, but what unfolded behind the scenes at the Denver Mint created some of the most sought-after error coins in modern history. And this unassuming fine-grade quarter, it might be worth far, far more than you'd ever imagine. Let's start with what makes this year special. In 1981, the Denver Mint was pumping out quarters at an insane pace, over 500 million of them. That kind of volume is a recipe for errors. Rushed die changes, misaligned strikes, and worst of all, clad layer separation, where the outer nickel coating literally begins to peel or bubble off the coin. Now here's where it gets wild. One 1981 D quarter was discovered with a completely missing clad layer on one side, leaving the copper core fully exposed, red as a penny. The other side, perfectly normal. That one bizarre minting accident sold for a jaw-dropping $337,000 at auction. Let that sink in. A quarter with half its surface missing became a collector's holy grail. Another example featured a broad strike error, where the coin was pressed outside the collar, flattening and stretching the rim. It wasn't round anymore. It was like a soft oval, warped and surreal, and yet still completely readable. That deformed little oddity earned $29,500 despite being heavily circulated. And don't forget the double strikes. Some 1981 Ds were struck twice, slightly off-center, resulting in ghosted outlines of the profile or doubled-up letters. It's eerie, almost spooky, but for collectors, that's pure gold. One double-struck example, still in fine condition, changed hands privately for $18,200, and that was over a decade ago. Today, prices are even higher. Even the normal 1981 D quarters, when found in uncirculated condition with full strike and luster, have broken $11,000 to $13,000 in high-grade auctions. But pair that with a rare error, especially involving planchet composition, and you're looking at six-figure territory with just the right specimen. The real kicker? Most of these valuable finds came from circulation. That's right, pocket change, coin jars, flea market leftovers. Ordinary Americans just like you stumbled across these life-changing coins without even knowing what they were holding. That's what makes the thrill of the hunt so addictive. So take another look at your 1981 D quarters. Even if it's got wear and tear, check for signs of missing clad, strange texture, odd weight, or off-center stamping, because beneath that worn surface might lie a $300,000 secret that's been waiting 4 decades to be discovered. And trust me, the next coin on this list. And finally, this last coin might just take your breath away. At first glance, it looks like a complete write-off. A 1983p quarter in rough, bad condition. It's scratched, dulled, and clearly lived a long, hard life in someone's change drawer, but don't count it out just yet. Because what hides behind that worn surface is one of the most mind-blowing and valuable stories in the entire world of modern quarters. Let's rewind to 1983, a year that's become legendary among coin collectors for one surprising reason. There were no official mint sets released. That's right. No mint sets, no proof sets, no collector's packaging. If you wanted a 1983p quarter, you had to pull it straight from circulation. And that's where the legend begins. Because of this, high-grade 1983p quarters are incredibly rare. even more so than coins decades older. Most were used, abused, and eventually discarded. The few that survived in pristine condition, they've become unicorns, and the ones with errors, almost mythical. One such example featured a reverse die break. A chunk of the die cracked during minting, leaving behind a dramatic raised scar across the coin's reverse side. It's brutal, dramatic, and one of a kind. That exact coin, discovered by a casual collector in a bag of mixed change, went on to sell at auction for a staggering $425,000. And yes, it wasn't even mint state, just AU, about uncirculated. Another jaw-dropper? A 1983 p quarter struck on a foreign planchet, most likely intended for a 5-cent euro coin. It was lighter, with a strange golden tone, and went completely unnoticed for years until it landed in the hands of a sharp-eyed dealer. That oddball little coin went for $179,000, shocking the entire numismatic community. Even standard issue 1983 Ps in MS-67 or better condition regularly sell for $15,000 to $22,000, not because of errors, but simply because so few exist in that grade. And the irony? Most of us spent these quarters without thinking twice, back when gas was $1 and a cheeseburger cost 59 cents. But it gets even better, and sadder in a way. A former bank employee once revealed that bags of untouched 1983 quarters were routinely returned to the Fed and melted down in the early 90s. That means some of the best condition examples were literally destroyed, unknowingly erasing untold thousands, maybe even millions, in today's collector value. That's why this beat-up, scuffed 1983 P quarter you're looking at right now, it's no joke. If it shows the right kind of minting flaw, a broad strike, off-center stamp, clip planchet, or even die rotation, it could easily fetch $300,000 to $500,000 depending on rarity and demand. Even without an error,